Hi you guys, what it is your girl Cadillac. I am the Draw My Life prison wife, the legally blind artist that is rapping and painting for justice, hoping to see justice before it all fades to black. So guys, I'm getting my little walk on out here outside. We are in sunny Orlando, Florida, but guess what? Ain't no sun. Today it is like cloudy and overcasting, and this must be our first like cold like day out here in Orlando because it is rather cool. I know you probably can hear the little wind blowing and stuff, so I hope that doesn't interfere too much. But today I have another list for you. Composed another list. Girl, I'm getting good with these lists. Okay, so I have today 10 ways that your loved one can experience retaliation. You know, we are the prison wives. Oh shoot, we need to go on that back road because they over there playing games and stuff. But I got 10 ways that your husband can experience retaliation. And then my subtitle is the things that they do just because they can. Like, girl, it's so crazy being in a relationship with a man that is incarcerated. We do not call them inmates anymore. We call them incarcerated citizens. And when you are with an incarcerated citizen, you know the things that you have to go through. Your man is telling you this is going on, that's going on. So I'm trying to just give you the tea, girl, about some of the things that they do just because they can. Be some petty stuff. Okay, so we're on number 1. Cutting off the phone call. Girl, now I know, give me a smiley emoji if this has happened to you. Like, you good in a conversation and I guess you talking about something, maybe an issue happened at Vizzle, or well, that's short slang for visitation, Vizzle. Maybe something happened and you're talking about it, and when they don't want you to communicate in a certain way with your loved one, girl, for me, they will cut that phone off. I mean, Securus used to do it. Now we got GTL, they do it. They will cut that phone off, which really, I think the people that in the prison that's listening to the phone calls, they're the ones that decide, like, hey, they're not going to have this conversation. Excuse me, guys. They're not going to have this conversation. I am cutting this short. So your phone calls, they'll cut that off with the quickness, y'all. You'll be good in a conversation and it'll go beep. It'll be it'll either just cut off, or most time it does cut off without any type of recording or anything. So number 2, the mail room and what they reject. A lot of times they reject stuff just because they can. Like, let me tell you, Marcello, he wrote a novel. Me and him wrote a novel together. He gets most of the credit, but girl, you can't do nothing without your girl. Like, he couldn't have got it together without me. But I had sent him, I was having it typed up, and I sent it to him to review. And this is a fiction novel. And before, they allowed him to have the novel, the copy of the novel, because he wanted a copy to read through. Of course, the people, his little, people that he talked to, he tells them about this book that we've been making, and he's so excited about it. And then, they want to read it or whatever. And they would not allow, they allowed him to get, because you can't put that many pages in an envelope, like maybe 10 pages. So they allowed him to get up to a certain point, and then they rejected it and sent it back and said that this can incite violence. It was inciting violence, this story that he was writing. So they rejected it. Girl, back in the day, like when me and Marcello first started on this journey, and your girl was Cadillac for real. Y'all know, did y'all ever know why my name is Cadillac first off? I go by Cadillac, which is my rap name. I got it from my grandmama. My grandmama was an OG from Chicago, Illinois. And she gave me that name because she was like, girl, you got so much butt behind you that it looked like an old school Cadillac. You know them Cadillacs that had the extended back. So that is really where my name Cadillac come from, my grandmother. So I always said that if I ever really pursued a rap career, I was going to, in dedication to my grandmother, use the name Cadillac. But I didn't want to spell it like how everybody else spells it. So I spelled it the way she says it. From Chicago, she say Cadillac. You don't say Cadillac, like you say Cadillac. So that's why, you know, that's my name. So, oh girl, I forgot what the heck I was talking about. It was something about some retaliation. Dog it. Anyways, well, they sent his, y'all know I lose my train of thought all the time, or else the train be putting me off or something. But yeah, so they reject. Oh yeah, girl, that's what I was trying to tell you. So when I was Cadillac and I was stacked in the back and the front, on the side, of everywhere, your girl had curves, hips, everything else. So you know, we used to take them little sexy pictures for our men. Like y'all probably still doing it right now. Your girl a little bit self-conscious, but every time I try to show a little bit of skin, they reject it. Like I could just show a little cleave. Like before, you can, as long as you wasn't showing like the actual, you know, the spots, you were good to go. Baby, not no more. Like they're being really like petty about what can come through and what cannot come through. And it's not universal. Some people, they'll allow this to come through. Some people, they won't. So it's really petty about what can go through. And that was the point in that. Okay, so we're on number 3. Okay, the petty things that they do with your pictures and your stamps. Now, you may say, look, Cadillac girl. Now, hold on. Hand going to bed. So I'm trying to fix and change hands or whatever. And we're going to change positions. Okay, so you probably say, look, Cadillac, you just said pictures. But no, I'm talking about another pettiness that they do with pictures. So certain pictures that Marcello, he didn't want to always have too many pictures, and once he gets so many, really they can only have a certain amount of number, whatever. But once he got to a certain amount that he couldn't literally just keep track of in his own mind and know if all his pictures are there, he would send them back home. Because he was like, the guards will actually get your little pictures, your little sexy pictures and stuff, and they would sell them to other incarcerated citizens. And in my mind, I'm like, that's so freaking stupid. Like, what the heck is another man gonna do with a picture of me, and he doesn't know me from nowhere? So he's just gonna be looking at this picture of me. That's crazy. But they do that. They will collect their pictures from them and sell them to the next. I've never heard of that, but that is crazy. But that's what they'll do. Okay, also with stamps. Back in the day when I was sending Marcello stamps, I do this with anything. It started with stamps. Now I am the OG prison wife now, because I've been on this road for 20 years. So back when this first started, I would send him envelopes and stamps. But the thing is, I think now you can't even send envelopes anymore. But I think you're still allowed to send stamps. But whenever I would send stamps, I would have to write how many stamps were in there. Because if you did not write the contents of what's in that envelope, even with letters, if I write him a letter, I write how many pages are in this letter, like on the little lip of the envelope, the part that you flip down, I'll write how many pages are in there. Because he was telling me the guards will take your stamps, give them to somebody else. They do all kinds of stuff. Half your letter will be there. So I put all the contents that I am sending on the thing, and they do that just the heck because they can. That is so silly. Like, who does that type of stuff? We switching hands again, girl. Okay, so now we are on number 4. Steady messing with your man during visit. Yes, girl, the guards do that a lot. Like, during visit, it's like, it's your family time. It's your time to, in a certain way, escape the realms of that prison. Like, to not feel like you're entrapped anymore. You're with your loved ones. You're being reminded, and talking of stories of home, you're catching up. You feel normal, you know, for a few moments. So sometimes this is when the guards want to address you the most. Hey, inmate, come here. Or they'll pull you to the side. They come and pull you over. You're with your family just to tell you, hey, you know, you can't have your arm around her like that. You know, you stand in a little line and he got his little arm around. Oh, hey, inmate, you know, keep your hands to yourself. Or one kiss and one hug. They love to reiterate that. One kiss, one hug in the beginning and in the end. Like, it's like, if I was a guard, I would not be like picking over these people like that. I would, even if I had to do that during my regular day-to-day, when he's with his family, I would just step aside and let him be with his family. Let him have that family time. Like, ain't nobody all over you when you're with your families. Okay, so that is number 3. Number 4. Oh, that was number 4. I'm so sorry, guys. Okay, so number 5. The petty things that they do to delay his visit. Girl, now this is where they really get petty, like team petty. They'll be petty with your visitor about what she can come in with. And the thing is, like, a lot of times the female officers, they clothing be tighter than ours. They uniform look like somebody done spray painted it on, but we can't wear certain things in. Like, oh, that's see-through. Oh, that shows your shape. Oh, this and oh, that. But they can come in with stuff. Then they turn around and they'll mess with the guy as well. They'll mess with him. They'll be like, oh, it's many times at Marcello. I'm like, what took so freaking long? Like, you're in the line and you're counting, like, the visitor that was coming to see this guy, like, they've been in, like, hours ago. Or, you know, and you're wondering why, you know, why is he not down there yet? And it's because they were playing and taking forever to bring him out. And I'll be like, he'd be like, oh, well, they sent me back. And I'm like, sent you back for what? Sent me back to shave. Like, he'll get way down to the visitation area. They sent him back to shave. Or because he had on long johns. And on this day, you can't wear the little long john sleeves up under, you know, hanging from under his blues. Like, every day the rules change. So today, you can't wear long johns. And they sent him back. Or it'll be silly. It'll be like, sometimes he'll have certain shoes and he can't wear his tennis shoes or gym shoes. We call them gym shoes from Chicago. He can't wear his gym shoes up there, but they'll send him back to go put his boots on. Silly stuff like that. Why would you do that? You don't know how far the person's family traveled to see them. And then here you go with this all, you know, willy-nilly stuff just because you can. Okay, so now we're in number 6. Searching his cell. Okay, now, you know, they can search it if they have certain reasons to search. But also this part, this is the petty part. They destroy it. They'll toss his stuff and destroy it. Now, when they do search his cell, they're supposed to leave his cell in the same manner that they came in. But just because they can, they will toss his cell, destroy his stuff, leave his stuff in disarray, and then be like, inmate, clean it up. Like, that's crazy. Like, at some point, you got to realize, like, hey, these are, like, really human beings that I am toying with. Would you do that out here in the real world? Like, you would just come and destroy somebody's stuff, like, because you can. Like, say you were a person that was working in a grocery store. And you know how, like, back when I worked at the super center, we were able to, you know, look at the, and they do that at Sam's too. You look at the receipt, and then you'll check the buggy for stuff that are supposed to be on the receipt. Now, you have the authority to ask for their receipt, right? But do you have the authority to rummage through their buggies and pulling their stuff out, throwing their bananas? And do you have the authority to that? Like, why would you do that? Like, who would do that? Like, if you did do that, people be looking at you like, dude, like, for real? Like, what are you doing? But they do stuff like that just because they can. Okay. So we are on number 7. Yep. The petty things they do. This is like under the realm of retaliation. And they do these things just because they can do them. Just because they can do them. Okay, so we're on number 7. During classes, they can be wrote up. Like if your man, he's able to take classes. Not all, you know, incarcerated citizens are allowed to, though they should be able to. If education was more a part of the rehabilitation, which they're really not trying to rehabilitate our loved ones, but they claim that they are. But if they were, education would be a part of most of their, you know, lives. So that's how we know they're really not trying to rehabilitate. Oh my gosh, girl. Rehabilitate our loved ones. But if your loved one is fortunate enough to get into a class, they will actually mess over that. And they can hand out bogus DRs. And a bogus DR can get your loved one put out of that class. And just the smallest DR can get your loved one put out of that class. And a lot of times that's what they'll do. They know that they need that class. They know that they need that resource, and they'll give them a DR just so that they, you know, don't have to let them stay in that class. And what a DR is called a disrespect report. And it's like basically like a write-up. And these write-ups can vary, and they can vary in severity and punishment. Okay, I don't know if other states go by those, but Florida really goes by DRs. DRs. Okay, so the DR can ultimately lead to you losing that class that your loved one has wanted or needed. Okay, number 8. DRs for just about any random reason. Like however that guard is feeling. Like if they come in with a bad mood, they can write them up for a DR for, hey, you didn't make your bed, or hey, you didn't do this, hey, you didn't do that. Like DRs for whatever reason. And really these are just, they're in place for a reason. It's when the incarcerated citizen is just not following the rules and they're doing the wrong thing, then you have to write them up. Because in life there has to be rules, right? We all agree to that there has to be rules and there has to be consequences for breaking the rules. We know that. Anybody in society knows that. But it's when you're giving those infractions and they haven't done anything to deserve them. That's what I'm talking about. DRs for any freaking reason. And those DRs, a lot of time, they do, you know, have hefty consequences behind them. And Marcella was actually explaining to me that the DRs are like you can lose gain time here in Florida. You can lose your you go to confinement, you can lose gain time. Usually that's the biggest things that happen. But then he said, like, they will actually over punish you into, like, you lose your gain time, plus you lose your phone, plus you lose a lot of different things. So instead of just what the DR equals to, they'll give you more punishment for that one DR infraction. Okay, so number 9. While he is in confinement, and this just recently happened to Marcello, he was written up on a DR. This one was bad. This was really bad. This could have resulted in losing his visitations for 3 years with everybody. and it could have resulted in him losing his game time. So it was a really bad offense. It was bogus, but when he went up for review, most times they lose. But this time, grace of God, Marcello won, and he was let out of confinement, which it would have been very detrimental. But you know, he this time, he was saying basically the person that he stood before actually used their common sense and was like, there's no way that this can be him. But a lot of times, just because you're written up on a DR, they go ahead with it. No matter how bogus it looks, they're going to follow through. They don't go against each other. You know what I'm saying? So, but this time the lady did use her common sense, and actually he beat it. Okay. And when he got out, he was like, Keita, I'm missing most of my stuff. So this gets into number 9. While you're in confinement, when he gets out, they will just give his stuff away all willy-nilly. Stuff that he paid for, stuff that you sent him money to purchase, like his sweater. Like, it just dropped, the temperature just dropped, and now Marcello has no sweater. Because while he was in confinement, they didn't put his stuff up like they were supposed to. They sat it out, and he said allowed any incarcerated citizen to just come and take his stuff. So now he's missing half of his property that he had before he went to confinement. Now he doesn't have, and now we have to send him money to repurchase just because they can. Now, do you see this? Okay, guys, so this is number 10, and this is the biggest. Because, I mean, there was so much retaliation over 20 years. I am the Draw My Life prison wife. I don't even think I finished introducing myself. The legally blind artist that is rapping and painting for justice, hoping to see justice before it all fades to black. Because that's about the little eye condition where I am going to lose my sight, and I would love to see him home before I'm not able to see anymore. So the biggest thing, being a prison wife over 20 years, there are so many things. So there will probably be a part 2 to this. But the biggest retaliation that we have seen thus far is the grievance process. When your loved one writes a grievance, which is how they're supposed to deal with issues through writing grievances. And if something is wrong, like, because, you know, DOC is actually ran by humans, and humans are not always, you know, fair. They're not always, you know, they're biased sometimes. Sometimes humans are even racist, you know what I'm saying? So it's not a completely fair system because it is ran by humans. So when you feel like you're being mistreated or things are not done properly, you're supposed to write a grievance. But what we soon found out is that when you follow the proper protocol and you write that grievance, first reaching out to maybe your warden, then after you went to the warden, you can write to Tallahassee, like us, we can write to our capital. When they find out you wrote a grievance, they actually retaliated against. I'm not saying it's going to happen to your loved one, so I don't want to discourage you from writing grievances, but just know it could happen. And when Marcello wrote that grievance, they retaliated against him. And I got a major story about that linked in the description box. Due to it, I almost ended up in jail myself, because they chose to wait to visitation to retaliate against him. And myself, after 20 years, no record whatsoever, could have ended up in jail way out in the boondocks. And even if they had to let me go, once I have that on my record, I cannot see him. That was the whole point. They wanted get back. You know, and the way to get back at him is, hey, this girl is the only one that comes and sees you. So we're going to hurt you by using your loved one to hurt you. What in the world do they want more than anything, the guys that are incarcerated? More than commissary, more than anything else, they want to see their loved ones. And that guard knows that The way to hurt Marcello would be to take away our visitations. Now, in the end, no matter whether they were right or wrong, they did not follow the rules that they even put forward. Chapter 33, that's where you need to go here in Florida. Any other state, you're going to have to research, because I don't know, maybe it could be called the same thing, maybe it couldn't. But chapter 33 are all the rules. And they didn't even follow their own rules. But yet in the end, when we wrote to the Capitol sided with them, which is crazy. So we lost our visitations after 20 years. Visitation, as you know, is the way that I raised my daughter with Marcello. My daughter would not know him if it was not for visitation, because another injustice took him away from our family when our daughter, was just 2 months old. Took him away. I literally got off of bed rest, and then I started dealing with prison wife mess. Like, that is so unfair. Like, I did nothing to warrant it. My daughter did nothing to warrant this. Marcello himself did nothing to warrant this. But that's the hell that we live through every day. So he's already wrongfully convicted. But then when he's inside, he's being further mistreated. So after all these years of raising our daughter through visitation,